Welcome back. How you guys doing? It's the Jack and Jarrett show. It is June 22nd. Not a nice day. I don't know why I always comment on the weather, but I feel like it's just something to say. Miss you guys. That's what I was going to say. And we're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube now. So we got a few different mediums. You can check us out. You don't have to always look at our faces. You can just listen to us in the car now. So I think that's pretty cool. Always like and subscribe. Always comment. Let us know what you want to hear. Anything else, any feedback is always appreciated. Or if you want to be on the show, be a guest. That'd be great. So I'm going to start us off today with a little bit of I guess it's a quote, and we'll see what happens from there. So, sticks and stones may break my bones, but what is the quote? But words, what is the quote?
Words will never hurt me.
Words will never hurt me. Yeah. Is that true?
You know, it is and it isn't. It's true if you want it to be true. That was a saying that I think we grew up in because we're in similar age, being early 90s babies. And as someone that's been reading and trying to practice stoicism, those words are very true. Like, someone's words really shouldn't impact you. It's your mindset and how you filter those things out. Whether you think something's bad or isn't is completely up to you. And what I mean by that is, like, something. Okay, so I'll give you an example. And I heard this when I was getting into stoicism a few months ago. I think it was actually Sam Harris who said this. So he was saying how he woke up in the middle of the night one night in his home. He has a couple of little kids with a wife, and one of the pipes had burst and just water spewing out. And it's the middle of the night with a couple of young kids. And so this is a terrible situation. No one wants to wake up to a home that they recently purchased with a couple kids and be like, holy cow, our place is being flooded. And you could easily, get very negative in that moment. And his wife goes to him and goes, well, at least it's not sewage. And when you put things in perspective, it's like, okay, well, it's actually not that bad. Now, tying this into our conversation, someone says something to you, you could take it literally and be like, oh, I'm going to let that impact my emotions or feel bad or, discount my self-worth or something like that. Or you could be like, I know who I am. This person may just be having a bad day. But at the end of the day, like, one conversation with them or their emotional impulses is going to affect. So in a way, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt you. It is true. But, we're human, and it's very easy for us to feel bad when someone says things that aren't nice to us.
Definitely. I guess where I may not agree with the quote is I think I've broken like a toe or I've like had injuries before. I'm completely healed from those. I've been called names and had stuff said to me. And as much as I want to forget about it, and like at times I do forget about it, at times it creeps back into my head. And like, so a lot of time I like to think, yeah, it's not affecting me. But a lot of time, just the fact that it's still in my head, it's affecting me. And I feel like I love my memory and I hate my memory at the same time. I feel like I have a really good memory. I remember things that were said to me when I was 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old,
Wow.
that have haunted me. And I have ones that like have made me keep respect for people for my whole life. I'm like, oh, I remember when they said that, and that was so special to me. But I remember things that definitely impact me, and it sucks. And I like to try and practice stoicism as well. And as much as I try and practice I can't forget the words. I just can't.
Yeah, when I say this type of stuff, I'm saying more idealistically of the person I want to become rather than who I am. It is not uncommon for me to be replaying conversations in my head, especially when things maybe didn't go as well as planned.
What do you do when that happens? So like, if someone and I'll give actually our viewers a little background story, and hopefully you guys don't judge us too much. But just this last week, Jack said something to me that kind of threw me off. I used to not react, and by used to, I'd say like 5 years ago and before, I used to react in horrible ways. I would blow up, I would internalize it and let it marinate until it really upset me. And then I'd like be passive aggressive. I'd like be nasty. I'd try and like do a lot of things that just aren't positive, aren't beneficial. This last week, I had something said to me, not a big deal, but it was itching under my skin. And for a couple of days, as it was itching under my skin, I found myself like kind of in similar scenarios to my past. And from actually Jack, or part of from Jack, I like how he is very direct and has like difficult conversations sometimes in just a very professional way. And I know that's something that I needed to work on. So I addressed it with him. And I feel like I did way better than I used to be, but I still feel like there's a better way to go about it. So Jack, what do you think is like the best way to go about something when you're just thrown off? Right.
When you're the perpetrator or you're the person that received it?
I guess received it first, and then we'll go into the perpetrator.
I
love how you use lawyer language too.
Yeah. So, we have to kind of create a little bit more nuance here.
So someone is at you're at a business meeting, actually. You're at a business meeting and you're with your partner, all right? You and your partner, and you're meeting with another potential business. And your partner says something during the meeting that kind of puts you under the bus or makes you just not feel the best.
So not saying anything during the meeting because you have an objective there and that won't be beneficial. But when the meeting's over, I am pulling the person aside, and I'm doing it in the most kind of peaceful way possible. And I'm just being very direct. And I'm not saying it asking for an apology, and I'm not saying it in any type of way where I'm trying to create more friction. But I'm being transparent with how I perceived how it happened. And I'm also being transparent with the seriousness in which I think that it needs to be corrected. And as someone that's had similar conversations with business partners about it, I will say that as uncomfortable as it is to have that conversation, it is a lot more uncomfortable to not have that conversation, have that situation be replaying itself in your mind, for you to be worried that it's going to come out again in the future. It's definitely possible that the person who said it may not have actually realized it. So I'm really not a confrontational person. But with that being said, I will not allow business things that I think are not going to help me and whoever I'm with achieve our goals to go unaddressed.
What if it's something that bothered you, but in your head, you're like, is it really that big a deal? Would you ever ignore that? Or if it makes you feel a certain type of way, you should just always say at least something.
So,
because some people are probably irrationally have their feelings hurt, right? I mean, I feel like I've probably had my feelings hurt irrationally before.
It depends what you want. There are times where I think addressing it is very important because it helps you build an even deeper relationship with people. What Jeremy was talking about earlier, I said something without actually realizing the impact that it would have. And people do this all the time. And so if someone is saying something to you and you don't think that it has that impact, you can, if you think that the relationship has greater potential and that the person may not have done it with malicious intent, I think there is benefit to like addressing it. Now, how you do it is dependent on the relationship you have with that person. Obviously, you don't want to come about it in like an aggressive manner. But with that being said, it's also important that the person who says it owns up to the fact that while they may not have said it with such a negative intent, it had that impact. And if you're telling someone that, hey, you said something that really, hit me in a negative way, and they don't acknowledge the validity of your feelings and the impact that they've had, then it's worthwhile to evaluate that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Good point. I like that. Yeah, because I guess, yeah, if it's a worthwhile relationship, the person, regardless of anything, will at least be open to dialogue or talking about it, instead of just like putting you off. A lot of time, actually, that's actually I'm like, memories are coming back into my head. I had an ex. I'm not trying to call her out, but she definitely had some pretty nasty things said to me. Honestly, I don't think she meant it. 99% of the time, I really don't think she actually meant it. They just like quickly came out. She's in the moment, just trying to get me. And then I, though, honestly never really addressed a lot of them. And when we broke up is when I brought up a lot of them, and it was obviously too late. And I don't think she ever realized that I even remembered half of those things, let alone that like I took them seriously. And I don't know exactly where I was going with that. I had a thought, sorry, in the beginning, but basically, like, just addressing it in the moment is gonna. That's what, when I would bring things up initially. I'm sorry to go back with that. When I would bring things up initially, she would put them off a lot of time and be like, "That's not a big deal." And then I just stopped even bringing up things because I felt powerless. And I feel like at that point is when things really deteriorated because there was no more dialogue. So at the very least, trying to make sure that there's dialogue going on, I think is important. Otherwise, the relationship's just going to deteriorate.
Yeah, and there's a couple of responses to that. One of them being, if you are not good at having more confrontational type conversations with someone, with anyone, that means you're probably not going to be good about it in your place of work and other areas of your life as well. And one of the things I would say is that your family can support you, can be your cheerleader and things like that, but you got to stand up for yourself as well. And if you know you're not good at having uncomfortable conversations, you got to start practicing. And there may not be any better place to start than when it comes to you. Being honest with the people around you about how they make you feel, the things that they've said, maybe the things that they didn't say, and things like that. And so what I kind of want to, acknowledge right now is it's not easy for most people to go up to someone and be like, yesterday, earlier today, a month ago, or whatever, you said something that just like, has been rattling around in my brain, and it really hurt me. And I got to let you know this, blah, blah, blah. And if you can practice those conversations, you will, over time, not immediately, get better at them. And I especially when they're with friendships and things like that, or potentially romantic partners, like,
is there a way you can practice, or you just gotta just keep doing it? Is there like a systematic way to practice, you think, or you just gotta have them more and more and you'll get better?
One of the things that you can do, that my negotiations professor in law school told us that's interesting is, and I'm kind of thinking this out as I talk, is just put yourself in more uncomfortable situations. So what our professor told us to do is go to a coffee chain, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, or something like that. And when you order your coffee, just look them in the eye and be like, "And I'd like a discount on my coffee."
Nice. I like that.
And when they say why, say whatever you want to say. Well, I come here a few times. I feel like I'm a pretty loyal customer, and I feel like this would be a great gesture for you. And the reason I say this, even though it seems very unrelated, is those can be uncomfortable things to say.
Definitely.
And so that might be a way to practice, where it's not necessarily with someone that you have a relationship built up with, but you put yourself in a position where you are now asking people for things that make you uncomfortable, and so at least you're getting some repetitions in there. But at the end of the day, there is no better substitute than like real world practice. There's been times where I've had people, you know, I paid for something and they said it was going to be a lot less expensive. And that was one of the reasons I went in on it, and it ended up being a lot
Mm,
more. And I'm sitting there at the ticket counter being like, okay, this is $150 more than I thought it was going to be, like for
mm,
what I thought was like a $50 ticket. Dude, I'm only here because you wanted someone to come and you said it was only going to be $50 or whatever. And like I go up to the person later, I was like, listen, man, like I'm not gonna like I went here because I was trying to be a good friend so you'd have someone to go with, and now I'm out of pocket like an extra $150. And like I kind of feel like I'm not saying you lied to me, but like I don't feel great about how this went down. And I've had
hmm.
conversations like, you know what, you're absolutely right. Let me like throw you some money, or you're absolutely right. Like let me get you back next time on something, or blah blah blah. And so there's been times where I've brought things up and I've actually been amazed at how well they've been received.
Very true.
Uh, and so that's what I would say. You just one way or another, you got to have these awkward conversations because you will get better at them.
So that actually reminds me of a story of mine. And this is actually probably the beginning of when I started like sharing my feelings. Like I said before, probably the age of like 27, I literally never shared my feelings, not once. If it killed me inside, I didn't say a thing. I internalized everything. And then at a certain point, I started sharing because it was like, this isn't right. There's a kid who basically asked me for $150 because they were like, oh, I'm in a tight spot, blah, blah. And then the next week they were going to Colombia for vacation. And I was like, dude, like, I don't know what you think of me, but like, it feels like you just think I'm a money machine. You're asking me just for $150 loan when you're going on vacation. It makes me feel some type of way. And dude responded with, dude, you're crazy. I don't know what you're thinking. And that was the last I ever spoke to him because it's like, yo, I'm trying to say something and I can't even have a conversation. Like you said before, if someone's not willing to even talk to you, like it's an easy way, I think, to just like realize who's with you and who's not, and cut them out. If they're not a good person, if they're toxic, it's not worth your time.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that I thought I was better friends with than I was, that I had maybe uncomfortable conversations with, and walked away being like, well, at least I know. At least I know this person can't be relied upon. At least I
Mm,
know that this is someone that I shouldn't either be putting my name or reputation or doing favors for. And so while it can be tough to get to that moment where you have a realization one way or another of the depth of your the relationship, um it is progress. Like it is
hmm.
super important to know who is in your corner, who is not in your corner as well.
Definitely. And then
But Jeremy, what was a turning moment for you that made you decide, like almost more holistically, that this was something that you needed to start addressing, being more transparent, or potentially more uh initiating more like uncomfortable conversations?
I'm not exactly sure I think getting older, just part of getting older was it, but I was going crazy, I think, with a lot of my relationships. And I was feeling disrespected, feeling upset, and then I was feeling like I was an idiot with how I reacted a lot of times. And I guess like some self-help books, some reading, and realizing like uh there's a book actually feel like it's called like Difficult Conversations, but I read it around that time too. So that might have been, do you know the book I'm talking about?
I don't.
It's like How to Have Difficult Conversations or something. Is recommended me from a good friend, someone I actually do a podcast with also that I was in MBA school, and definitely a really good book and inspirational. But I feel like there's a few things, and just realizing that maybe from like people I looked up to growing up who never had conversations about how they felt, and seeing how detrimental that was to relationships, and not wanting to follow those footsteps, I think was a big part of it. And I still have a ways to go. So something I was actually going to ask before that's still an issue with mine is like I still get a little nervous to bring up things with people because I don't want it to be a bad reaction. I get a little hesitant for that. I get I'm pretty sensitive, and I also get worked up very easily. And when I'm worked up is not the best time to have a conversation. So a lot of time I try and like have a conversation through text or messaging because I know at least I can like think about what I'm saying and not like say all this bad stuff. But I don't think that's the best. I don't think that's a good strategy. But it's the way that I'm able to initiate conversations at this point.
Yeah. So that's interesting because I'm very different. I'd rather not be texting things out.
I,
I'd rather
I
be,
think I was texting you and you kept on calling me, and I was like, "Yo,
yeah,
I'm not getting on the phone right now."
yeah.
um, I start literally losing my voice. I literally can't control myself. Not in a
But I think,
bad way either. It's not like anger or anything. I just
yeah.
like there's so much things going on in my head that I need to like settle and think about it.
And I think what you just pointed out is something that's worth emphasizing, which is you need to know yourself. If
Mm,
you are the type of person that you really need to reflect on something and refine what you want to say and actually have time to sit with it, then you have to play to that strength. You
mm-hmm,
can't you can't just have an impromptu conversation, walk in, surprise someone and like do it. Like you need to like set up the forum to fit you. If you are better at taking your time writing the messages than phone calls or video chats or things like that, then play to that strength because these things can be uncomfortable. And so at least give yourself some control to do it in a way that you at least feel a little bit more comfortable doing it in. And so what I think what you pointed out there is something that's worth addressing as we navigate some of these more challenging areas of life, that even if it is something you're uncomfortable with, there's got to be a way to do it that's slightly more comfortable than other ways.
mm-hmm. Definitely. I feel like yeah, I feel like I like to bounce things off of my therapist first. I feel like it's nice to have like a third party give ideas to and strategies, and a lot of time they'll be, I don't know, they talk some sense into you. Sometimes I feel like I would also want the conversation. I'd maybe want to initiate a conversation, but I'd want a third party there too. I feel like that's just beneficial sometimes because you feel more comfortable, like your words might not be misinterpreted as much, or there might not be as much miscommunication because there's two people there and someone can actually validate what either of you are saying, instead of, because a lot of time when people talk, the person listening isn't hearing everything that they're saying. They're hearing what they want to hear a lot of time, and it's not the most productive of conversations.
Yeah, or they're playing this game of, but you did this or
Right.
something like that, and they're moving the ball. Um, Something that may be worth bringing out is when you have these conversations, like what's the goal? Like what is actually the goal of the conversation? Like,
Great point.
are you, apologies and sincerity is nice, but like, are you okay with the goal simply being just like having your voice be heard and, telling someone like how they made you feel? Or is your goal something more direct, whether someone owes you money or said they were going to do a favor and didn't do it, or didn't do a good job, whatever
Hmm.
it is, like actually like knowing that way you don't get to the point of the conversation the person's like, okay, but like what do you want me to do?
Yeah,
And
and
it's
then
just
you're like, oh,
like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like actually
yeah.
having it be like, well, like I paid for this, or you said you would, you said you would do that, or whatever it is. Like actually having something. So, um, this stuff's hard, man. Like no one's no
Oh,
one's good at this stuff right away.
it's super hard. And then I guess this is a little pivot of the conversation. It's still about words, but we've been kind of talking more about like when other people say words to you. I've been listening to Jim Quick's book Mindset this week, and something he's been saying is also how words matter. And something I really liked, I've heard it before, but I'm gonna actually start really trying to practice it. Is instead of talking, just talking positively about yourself or about anything is helpful also. So instead of saying I have to go to work or I have to work out today, saying, I get to go to work, I get to work out. And just a
Yeah.
slight change in one letter difference, a slight different pronunciation can change your whole mindset. And I think it's wild how powerful words are, because I think they affect all of the cells in your body. The body responds to words. So when you use certain words, your body just goes with it or it doesn't go with it. Do you have any
Yeah.
like ways that you talk that help that?
I do. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. I try to, as best I can, live by two uh, two rules. One, that I am not going to say anything negative about anyone else. And deeper than that, it really comes down to judging people.
Mm.
So, something simple could be, I personally think it's crazy that vaccinated people outside are wearing masks, especially when no one's around them.
Yeah.
It's just like, and I'm not anti-vax, I'm not anti-mask, I'm not, but like the science says, if you're vaccinated and you're outside, like you just don't need a mask.
Right.
And so it's hard for me at times to like not judge some of these people, and I don't necessarily know if they're vaccinated, although I think almost hilariously, the people that are vaccinated are the ones that are actually wearing the mask more. But I don't have anything to base it off of, just a
Yeah.
hunch. And so I bring that up just because it's almost like a funny example of like, when I see that, I just remind myself, like, thou shalt not judge. I don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe they
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get vaccinated. Maybe they have an autoimmune issue. Maybe they work with sick people. Maybe it's a million things. Maybe they forgot that they have their mask even on. Like, it could be.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't judge. And then the same thing, I won't speak similarly. I won't speak negatively about myself. And so I won't I'll try not to use negative words to talk about. And getting to what you're saying, instead of saying things like, I have to do this, I have to wake up early, I have to do that, changing it to, I get to, or I have the opportunity, or even as I have some family stuff going on, and there are times where things are more than stressful, and instead of it being like, I have to do this, or blah blah blah, changing the vocabulary to like, what an unbelievable opportunity I have to be uh, a supportive member of my family, to help my brother and sister, my mom, whoever else, get through this. Like, what a great opportunity to work on managing my stress in a situation. And if you do those switches, and it sounds super cheesy, but if you do them repeatedly for at least a few days, it will change how you see the world.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I got the chills a couple times as you were just talking, because yeah, I find myself like kind of complaining about dumb things, whether it be about like my parents or my family or whatever. And then just realizing like how fortunate I am, and like, what am I complaining about? Like, there's so much. I wake up and practice gratitude every day. I think that's like very similar and helpful. Is like, yeah, there's 100 things to complain about for everyone. Everyone has plenty of things going on to complain about, but you have an infinite amount of things to be grateful for. Literally, if you're here, that's amazing. If you can see, if you can hear, if you can walk, talk, whatever it might be, and just focusing on that literally rewires your brain. I think if you wake up and practice gratitude for like 24 days or something, your brain literally starts to rewire, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's a couple other things I want to add. I've been rereading Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, because I've been posting about the book on TikTok. And a couple of things I want to share that's very similar in terms of mindset and whatnot is, one's by Shakespeare, and the quote is, "There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." And
Mm,
that quote is very similar in the sense that it would have taken me a long time to realize it, as like uh, as the quote from Ford that goes, "Whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right." Up
yep.
until a few years ago, I just didn't understand what either of these would have said. But if you do understand them, it's a whole world of difference. I don't want to necessarily.
Jim Quick has a similar one. I liked it a lot. He said someone said to him when he was like 18 years old, he asked him all his goals. He told him all his goals, and the guy said, "You're this close." And Jim was like, "What do you mean I'm this close?" And if you're hearing, you're not watching us, I'm making my hands around my about the size of my head. And what he says is like, everything that's keeping you from your goal is in your head. Like you're that far away. Once you can change your mindset in your head, you're fine.
And then regarding being happy, there's a quote from Abe Lincoln in Dale Carnegie's book as well that says, most folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. If you want to be happy, it's in your hands. Say what you're grateful for, put things into context about how much worse other people have it. Like when I will say this all the time to people that I ask how things are going. I'll say, yeah, like things are stressful, but you know what? There are people with lesser means dealing with worse situations. And so I'm very grateful for what I have. And so if you put it in context, if you do take the positive sign, or, you know, you just think about how much worse it could be. And like an example that also may hit home is like, I have my pops, my grandfather just turned 98 yesterday. And the dude's slowing down. Like there's no way to say it. And he's slowing down.
My grandpa's 98 too. I just saw him on Father's Day. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's a gift. And, you know, it can be easy to get sad and be like, it's hard to have a conversation. He has a hard time hearing me. Sometimes he repeats himself. And I'm not saying, you know, he's off the loony, anything like that. But, you know, these are things that can upset people. And it can be easy to get upset. But then you can also tell yourself, wow, how lucky am I that I've been able to spend all this time with him. And even though he can't hear all that well and all this now, like he's still there. There are other people whose grandparents died when they were kids and never got to develop that relationship. And so, you know, you could leave that interaction with your grandfather and be like, what a shame I can't, you know, have a more fruitful conversation perhaps. Or you could leave it and be like, how unbelievable that I'm 30. I think you're close to 30. That, you know, even in this age, we still have someone that we can visit who, you know, is our grandparent. How lucky are we?
Yep, exactly. And it could always be worse. You could always be Ben Simmons. I mean, I wouldn't want to be that guy right now. That's for sure.
I don't know, man. He's got $35 million coming in this year, next year, and the year after. Like,
that's true. That's a good point. But he is hated right now. Like, there's calls for his head in Philadelphia. Just something I want to mention before I forget. The book I was talking about is called Crucial Conversations. It was recommended to me when I was in my first year of MBA school, and definitely I don't even think I read the whole thing, but the concept from one chapter I like understood that this is important. You can't just ignore these conversations, which is something I used to do forever.
Yeah, I think it's important.
What's it called? Let's do you have anything else from Dale Carnegie's book you'd like to share to wrap up the week?
Not from his book, but there's another quote that's rattling around in my brain that I thought I'd share. I forget who said this. It's a female successful business person. And she said that you can measure your professional success by the number of uncomfortable conversations you have. And really? What she was kind of referring to is, yeah, people get promoted sometimes, maybe out of the blue, or not out of the blue, but yeah, without it. But if there's something that you want, whether it is a promotion or you need to set stronger boundaries with your firm. I have friends that are lawyers at very prestigious firms, and they're always on call and setting boundaries of, hey, like after 11 p.m., I'm not doing this anymore. You have me from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day, but like 11 p.m. I'm asleep. I'm not destroying my sleep cycle anymore for this. People will respect you for it. And promotions, at least you're putting it on the radar. At least you're fighting for yourself. And maybe there's going to be a middle ground. But if you don't initiate, and if you don't have those uncomfortable conversations, then, you know, you may get lost in the sauce. And so it was an important quote that I constantly think about, especially when I start talking about like uncomfortable conversations of, yeah, it's not something I look forward to, but like I also go into each one of these uncomfortable conversations in the back of my mind as I'm not great at this, but this will help me get better at it. And I need to do this in order to become a better person, to fulfill deeper relationships, for me to reach my potential, yada, yada. And so I thought I'd share that.
No, I like that. I'm going to try and look into that more after. I want to see who said it and all. And I feel like it reminds me a little bit of Wim Hof. I feel is like the worst part is the before. Once you do it and once it's over, it's never that bad. It's the before that sucks. So just do it and get it over with and it's done. I don't really have anything to share about learning, but I will say, here's my call. And this is something that I think you feel similarly on. I like to find trends early. I feel like I was on the Airbnb trend a little early. I was on the crypto trend a little early. I think a trend in the next couple of years is going to be microgreens and sprouts. I don't know why I never really thought of it or heard of it before. I feel like I heard of it in the last year, really. I still don't even understand it completely, like where it came from or how it kind of started. The seeds are a little different. I've been learning or hearing like they don't treat the seeds in like as many chemicals, I guess, because you eat the seed quicker, where when it's in the ground, it loses all of these, even if it's organic stuff, it loses it in the soil. But yeah, it's this whole new industry. It makes growing food super easy. I've been growing radish and broccoli sprouts for the last like month. I don't even really enjoy the taste too much. I put a little pinch in my smoothie, super nutritious. I'm growing my own food. Doesn't take a lot of space, but I think it's a super cool hobby. Jack mentioned it last week. I thought it was pretty cool that he's even heard of it. Most people have no idea what I'm talking about when I say microgreens. They're like, I mean, they can assume what I'm talking about because it's in the word microgreens, but it's not anything that they're too familiar with. So pretty cool. I think it's going to be big. When Jack and Jer are big in a couple of years, sprouts are going to be big too.
Yeah. So get on the Sprouts train early. But yeah, thanks for staying tuned, guys. Don't shy away, and girls too, don't shy away from those uncomfortable conversations. I hope this was valuable, and like, comment, follow, let us know what you thought was helpful, wasn't helpful, what we screwed up, what I screwed up. We want to hear from you guys.
And if you want to have a difficult conversation with someone on air, let us know. We'll get both of you on. Jack and I will mediate, and we'll have a really fun time. That would be dope, actually.
Yeah, I'll throw on the lawyer hat and cross-examine you. Don't worry, it'll be not fun for you.
Heck yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks as always, Jack. Appreciate you. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon. Later,
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks, Jeremy.